What is this strange-looking chair? And what's it for? Lee Valley introduces a whole new line of Japanese sharpening stones. They come in 10 different grits. Finger detection brake system for a bandsaw? Those stories and more coming up. Welcome to the Woodworking News, brought to you by WB Fine Woodworking. I'm Don. This is our 4th edition of the Woodworking News, and this is for August 22nd, 2021. I appreciate the comments on some of the new segments that I've added. If you have any other kinds of segments you'd like me to add to the Woodworking News, just let me know and I'll see what I can do for you. Also, if you have anything that you've been doing in your shop, something that you've made, you've turned, a project that you finished or a project you're in the middle of, and you want to send me some photos to put them on the Woodworking News, I'll be happy to do that. Contact me through my website, wbfinewoodworking.com. First up is some industry news. I mentioned last time that AWFS had their convention in Las Vegas. Well, there were some Visionary Awards that were handed out there, and this is a report on those Visionary Awards. News from the AWFS in Las Vegas 2021. The AWFS Fair was held July 20th through the 23rd. Here are the AWFS Visionary Award winners for 2021. 8 companies earned Visionary New Product Award for product innovation in woodworking industry. Components. Machinery over $50,000. Machinery under $50,000. Materials. Software. Power tools. Tooling. And general category. Here's the award each of these companies won. And these are the company representatives accepting the awards. Here are products that might be of interest to small woodworking shops. Watch for more information on the AWFS Fair in the coming weeks, including special reports on some of these tools and other tools that woodworkers like us would be interested in. While some of these visionary words are for high-end big machines, some of them may affect those of us that have our small workshops, and others may affect us sometime in the future. In the upcoming editions of the Woodworking News, I'll be covering those visionary awards that I think might affect those of us in small workshops, and some of the nominees as well. The first one of those will be covered later on in this edition of Woodworking News. Now for some other additional industry news. The guys over at Frog Blanks continue to add colors to their lines of laminated birch. The guys over at Frog Blanks have added 2 new colors to their line of laminated birch. By adding yellow and burgundy, they now have 12 different colors of their Frog Blank material. You can get their laminated blanks in these single colors or in combinations like these. That Frog Blank laminated birch can really add color to a project without a bunch of epoxy. A couple of years ago, I turned this coffee scoop out of Frog Blank material. It really came out nice. I used spray lacquer to bring out the color and the grain of the wood, and it's held up over the last couple of years. I use it every morning to make the coffee. For magazine news, here's some information on the latest edition of Fine Woodworking magazine. The latest edition of Fine Woodworking magazine is number 291. It features Mario Rodriguez on the cover. In the editor's letter titled Something Old, Something New, it says, "This issue's lineup is a great example of the unique viewpoints that are driving the craft forward today." Signed, Michael Pekovich. Mike went on to say, "I've been part of making the magazine for 25 years and have worked on articles by thousands of authors on just about every woodworking topic over that time. If anyone should be tired of the subject by now, It should probably be me. Yet the opposite is true. Every article, even the ones that tread on the same territory as those in the past, gives me something new, whether it's a fresh design perspective or a novel approach to solving a challenge that the craft can throw at us. This is a brief glimpse at what's in this magazine. As Mike said, there's a lot of different types of articles here. For some of the authors, it's their first inclusion in Fine Woodworking magazine. So check out the latest edition of Fine Woodworking wherever magazines are sold, or you can subscribe. Mike concluded his letter by saying, "The future of woodworking is in great hands, and I'm happy to have the good fortune to be sitting in a front row seat." The heirloom box project in this magazine looks like it's very interesting. It'd be handy to have, I think. And it would be a great way to get started learning how to veneer because the fronts of the drawers of the box are veneered. Here's some information on some new books from Woodsmith Magazine. Woodsmith Books announces 5 new books. They're available in digital format or digital and print format. They include Home, Garage, and Shop Storage Projects, Miter Saw Handbook, The Best of Shop Notes, Bookcases, Cabinets, and Shelves, Volume 4. Plywood Shop Projects. You can check them out at woodsmithlibrary.com/browse/books. If you look at those books on Woodsmith's website, you'll notice that there's a lot of other books that they have available. You might find something that'll interest you. This is a new section to this edition of Woodworking News, online woodworking instruction. There's a lot of choices out there that you can pick from for instruction on woodworking. This one's from Highland Woodworking. For many years, Highland Woodworking has been having really high-class woodworking classes at their Atlanta store. But because of COVID-19, they had to shut that down, but they turned to the internet and started offering classes online. They've now extended their offerings and now have a lot of classes that are coming up online, and here's some information about that. Highland Woodworking, along with Charles Brock, announced new online woodworking classes. Here is their announcement on their website. Dear woodworking friends, in collaboration with Highland Woodworking, we are now able to offer you access to a high-quality collection of woodworking classes and lessons in HD streaming format. You can watch them anytime and anywhere you have an internet connection. My team and I have produced an archive of inspiring instructional content featuring woodworking teachers such as Alf Sharp, Brian Boggs, Mary May, Anne of All Trades, Ronnie Young, and more. Signed, Charles Brock, host of the Highland Woodworker Show. These classes include live online classes, online class videos, and Charles Brock Online School. While these online classes can't fully take the place of in-person classes, you still may find something that will help you in your woodworking. Keep watching for updated news on hardwoods. For the YouTube news, I'm spotlighting a video by Chad Stanton. Chad's been a woodworker for more than 20 years in Toledo, Ohio. In this video, Chad shares some of the projects that he's doing. It'll give you an idea what it takes to be a professional woodworker. Several years ago, Chad and his wife were able to move so that he could have a bigger shop. And when he did that, he started doing a lot more of his woodworking. So Chad has really settled in and doing some great woodworking projects. In this video, he shares some of the projects that he's currently working on. The first project he shares is this large built-in. He goes through how the design came about, what the client really wanted to have, and how it had to go together. So it's a good project to look at. Eventually this will be painted and have some decorative molding on the front as well. If that project wasn't enough, the second project Chad shares is this solid cherry vanity that's going to go in his client's bathroom. The bathroom that the vanity is going in has a sauna. So Chad shares what he had to do to design this to take care of the wood movement involved in such a humid room. Chad also discussed the drawers that will go into this piece. Over the years, Chad has discovered that sometimes building a full-size mock-up of a piece is very helpful. So he built this mock-up for this piece that actually was in the client's home for a while. And after the client had it in his home, he decided on some design changes that needed to be made. So by allowing the client to work with the mock-up, Chad was able to avoid having to make changes in the final piece. In the video, Chad explains what those changes were and how he made them. Another client came to Chad and wanted one of the beach chairs that's shown in this photo. The client even tracked down the plans and bought a copy for Chad. Most of us say that would be great, we'd just follow the plans. But with his experience, Chad noticed some problems with the chair plan and he pointed those out to his client. Fortunately, the client understood what Chad was saying and gave Chad the go-ahead to work around the plans and revise the plans so that the chair would be much better than the one in the photo. In order to fix the issues and make the chair better, Chad designed and built this adjustable prototype for the chair as a full-size mock-up. He explained how this full-size mock-up that's adjustable will help him change all the sizes and angles of the chair and make it much more comfortable for his clients. As Chad clearly showed in this video, there's a lot to taking on commissions as a professional woodworker. You can also look on Chad's channel. There's a lot of other videos out there that Chad has done that might help you in woodworking. Chad just finished posting on his YouTube channel a series of videos showing him how he made a mid-century dining table. In that series, Chad shares how and why he sometimes makes scale models of his projects. You might want to check that out too. Well, the price of lumber continues to be in the news. There's still a lot of fluctuation in the market, but this is an interesting report that I ran into. Yahoo Finance came out with an interesting report. Now, first of all, they showed this graph that we've seen almost every month, and we're sitting over here at about $500 per 1,000 board feet for construction lumber. But here's where the report gets interesting. Up until June of this year, many of the dealers and manufacturers of lumber had a very tight supply. You can see that in the reddish color here. But then all of a sudden now in July, we see that they have an excess. Almost half the manufacturers and dealers have an excess inventory. While this excess inventory sounds great, a lot of it was bought at high prices. So much of the inventory that the manufacturers and dealers have on site is way overpriced for today's market. So many of them are looking for ways to get rid of this excess inventory but not lose a lot of money on it. According to my sources, some of the prices in the stores have started to go down, but many of them have still stayed the same or gone up a little bit. One gentleman reported that 2x4x8s had gone down, while everything else had remained the same, and other things had gone actually up in price. Not related to lumber, but he said metal roofing is almost impossible to get these days. Of course, most of us that are woodworkers are looking more at hardwood prices than the softwood prices. Hardwood prices are not directly related to the softwood prices, but they have been in fluctuation recently. And here's some information about hardwoods. Skyrocketing lumber prices have grabbed the media spotlight recently, but most of the attention has been focused on softwood lumber and home building. In reality, the crisis is more widespread than home building and has reached deep into the woodworking industry across North America, affecting hardwoods, sheet goods, and other essentials. Many experts in the industries related to wood agree that the current lumber crisis is much wider than just construction lumber. There is no doubt about the impact of supply distributions on hardwood lumber. Hardwood prices have been equally volatile, with many products reaching all-time highs. The effects of the building recession in 2008 to 2010, the trade war of 2019 with China, and then COVID in 2020 force a capacity reduction in the hardwood industry at the eastern hardwood sawmills alone from 11 million board feet before the recession to approximately 7 million board feet in the year 2020. Then the demand for more hardwood hit. This is a similar graph that goes back a little farther. It shows that in 1999, we had 12,600,000 board feet produced in the eastern United States alone. That's more than double the production from 2020. According to industry experts, market prices for hardwood, which do not have near the same direct correlation to softwoods, plateaued toward the end of April 2021, with very few increases for the first time in over 3 months. Sellers are not willing to lock in a price before having availability, and buyers are unwilling to speculate on confirming an order until they know suppliers have the stock. Not all species of hardwoods have been affected in the same way. There are different equations of supply and demand and competition for hardwood products compared to the softwood and construction lumber. Supply is a big part of the product increases, but there are some products more heavily influenced by supply than demand. It's very interesting to note that poplar is one of those. Historically, poplar pricing reveals a very flat line over time, but currently poplar pricing is 166% over the normal price. One expert gave an explanation of this. He said poplar is a large volume item that cuts and dries quickly, so the risk for that particular product to change direction, even with the modest supply correction, is greater than other species and products. The key now is that the harvesting of trees will increase as well as production at the sawmills, and that's hard to predict. One thing that wasn't in this report is the fact that it's costing more to cut the trees down and process them into lumber than it used to be. In fact, some hardwoods are so inexpensive that companies are having difficulty affording to cut them down and turn them into lumber. According to Shannon Rogers on a recent Lumber Industry Update podcast, red oak is one of those woods that's difficult for lumber mills to make money on. So I wouldn't be surprised if some of our lumber prices don't go up a little bit and stay there. If we want the hardwoods, we may have to pay a little bit more for them. Lee Valley has recently started selling some sharpening stones from Shapton, who is highly respected for their ceramic sharpening stones. Lee Valley has recently introduced the Ha-no Kuramaku ceramic stones. These are Japanese sharpening stones from Shapton. Durable yet fast-cutting, these traditional single-grit ceramic stones are available in a range precisely graded to let you select an optimum sharpening sequence for application. The grits go from 120 up to 30,000. You can pick the grits that you want to use. The Lee Valley website has what they call SharpenNet. It's a series of videos and articles that help you learn how to sharpen. Whether you're an old hand at sharpening or a novice, you'll find something here that might help. This set of sharpening stones really comes in a wide variety of grits. No, you don't need to buy all of them. You can pick out what you think would be best for your sharpening routine in your shop with the tools that you like to sharpen. Before I go on and finish up this edition of the Woodworking News, let me say that I'm very grateful for all the comments that I've received, the encouragement that I've had. I still need to have some more views. That's something that YouTube just requires. They won't push a video out to other viewers until they see that a lot of people have viewed a video. So it's sort of one of those, what we used to call a catch-22 situation. So the more we can spread the word and help out, the more this channel can grow and the more this program will grow. One of the visionary awards from AWFS went to Felder Group and their finger detection system on their saws. This, of course, is available on their high-end saws, but it's interesting to see how the technology works. This is the short list of AWFS Visionary Award winners that we'll be looking at in the next few weeks. Today we're going to settle in on the Felder Group's Preventive Contact System. Felder Group has come up with a brand new way to stop saw blades. Here's a demonstration of it. They call this PCS, or Preventive Contact System. Felder states that PCS is currently the fastest non-contact triggering device worldwide. PCS is designed to detect the finger without any contact at all. Felder says their system will differentiate between fingers and wood. So how does it work? Felder's system consists of two main parts, namely the detection of the user's hand and the mechanism for pulling the saw blade down. The motion is detected by an electromagnetic field around the blade, and the pulling down is done by a clever system of magnets that reverse in polarity. By generating an electromagnetic field around the saw blade, PCS can detect incoming movement before it actually comes into contact with the blade. This supposedly works both for fast and slow movement and fires within milliseconds. The entire saw aggregate is held together by two strong electromagnets. The polarity of these magnets holds them together, but when incoming user contact is detected, the polarity is reversed, forcing the two magnets apart extremely rapidly. This brings the entire saw unit down very quickly, which means there's no need to put a brake on the saw blade. Another advantage is there's no cartridge needed. With the push of a button on the control screen, the magnets connect back together again, and you can return to work within a minute. The safety system also automatically restarts again. In this video, the operator is actually showing this with his own hand. While this finger detection system is only available now in Felder's high-end sliders, it's possible in the future that it will be carried down to machines that the average woodworker can afford, and it will be hopefully some competition for SawStop. Speaking of SawStop, early on they tried to attach their brake system to a bandsaw. There's a video someplace on the internet showing that. It was my understanding at the time that the trunnion of the bandsaw just wasn't strong enough to take the force of the brake. I could be wrong though, that was more than 14 years ago. But a new company has come along and they've come up with a braking system for a bandsaw. Scott Automation and Robotics has come up with what they call blade stop for bandsaws. In addition to woodworking, bandsaws are most commonly used in meat packing plants. This video shows the successful implementation of these saws in meat packing plants. Unlike stopping mechanisms that require contact where the body does receive some injury, using this system, due to its vision sensing technology, there is no injury to the operator. Fast restarts allow the operator to resume with minimal downtime. In this real-life situation, they do have some injuries, but they're not any more than you might get from a SawStop, and that's from a bandsaw. According to the safety director at this plant, all that's required is a Band-Aid and the operator can get back to work quickly. These saws use a unique sensing system that combines this probe and a visual sensing system on the saw. An operator can either clip this sensing system on their belt, or they can wear like a fanny pack. The other end of the sensing mechanism is plugged into the saw, and the connector between the two is put together. This feature allows the operator to go from one saw to another if necessary. To activate the system, the operator simply touches the tabletop of the bandsaw. When the saw is ready, it tells the operator to remove their hand from the saw table. Then the sign says, "Saw ready to run, press start." It'll be real interesting to see what happens to this technology in the future, and if they can transfer it over to woodworking saws as well as the ones that cut meat. I'd certainly like to have one in my shop. I don't know about you. I'm still wondering if that bandsaw detection system requires the blue gloves. That's something that they didn't mention. So I appreciate all my subscribers and those of you that have viewed this video. Thank you all very much for watching. And here are a few bloopers that you might enjoy. In upcoming editions of the Woodworking News, for years, Highland Woodworking has been teaching they won't push videos out to other viewers until they